Hey Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Decentering Men series. I haven't made a video on this subject in a while, so I just wanted to talk my shit today. Okay? Warning, this is going to sound extremely negative. Okay? I'm not going to give a whole bunch of disclaimers on my videos because I don't have to. So if you're male centered or if you are happy in your relationship with men and you're dating right now, you're trying to catch a man or something, do not watch this video because anybody who comes to argue in my comment section and say not all men is going to be banned. But have you ever noticed that we have higher standards for friendships than relationships? Why is this? Well, I was thinking about this, and it's really because a lot of women have a scarcity mindset when it comes to romance, and they have an abundance mindset when it comes to friends. So, for example, if a friend talks to me crazy, if a friend is a hater and she doesn't support my dreams, or if I find out she's talking shit about me, she's gossiping about me, that friend will get cut off. She will immediately be blocked. I'll never speak to her again. And I've noticed a lot of women, they don't know how to keep this same energy with men. They will have a whole boyfriend or a whole husband who talks shit about her to his family. They'll have a man who does not support her dreams. He's always putting her down. He's basically like her biggest op and her biggest hater. And then she will still be with that guy saying, oh, we just have to work through it. So why is it that we are not socialized to work through our friendships? We're not socialized to work through it with family members. There are people who will go no contact with their own mother and their own father, but when it comes to a man, they keep going back to their ex. They keep going back to him. They still want to sleep with him. They still want to go have him as her sneaky link or something. And a lot of that is because we have been socialized to feel like friendships are replaceable. Society has taught us that women are replaceable. So when it comes to female friendships, that's why a lot of women will cut off other women because they feel like women are replaceable. Women are not as valuable. Having a woman in your life as your friend, that's not as valuable as having a man in your life. So that's why you see a lot of women who are literally willing to cut off their friendships, or there are those women who, once they get a boyfriend, they disappear from their friends. Have you ever been around a woman like that? Or have you ever been that woman where it's like, once you get a man, suddenly you disappear. You fall off the face of the earth. Your friends don't see you for 6 months. They don't see you for like 2 years. So a lot of women are willing to sacrifice their own friendships just so they can keep a man. And another thing that I don't like too is, why is it that when it comes to a relationship with a man, I'm supposed to be the one fixing him? Has anybody else noticed that? Like, you'll be in a relationship and the guy will be like, oh, well, can't we just move past this? Can't we just work through this? Or you have to understand where I'm coming from. I've been through a lot in my childhood. So it's like the woman is expected to be his free therapist. She's expected to essentially fix a man or basically emotionally train him to be a husband. I have yet to see a marriage where the woman is not doing something to basically emotionally train that man into becoming her husband. And a lot of women will be like, oh, well, we've been through a lot and now we made it out to the other side. He used to be a lot worse. He's made progress. And it's like, why are you celebrating the bare minimum, sis? Why is it that if you were to have a female friend, if she were putting you down and verbally harassing you every day for 15 years, you would not tolerate that? So why is it that you're tolerating it with a man? Not only are you tolerating it, but you're actually celebrating how many years you have been able to tolerate this BS. You're celebrating the fact that you made it through 15 years of trauma and now you guys suddenly overcame it. So you expect me to believe that you went through decades of trauma with this man and that you were able to unpack all of that PTSD. You were able to unpack decades worth of PTSD within a couple of weeks. Whenever you're around somebody who's been in a relationship for a long time, if she says that she's worked through something with her man, just ask her, okay, how did you work through it? What was it? Like, what was the solution to your problem? Most of the time, she will be like, oh, we just had a conversation. We just talked about it and he never did it again. Okay, that's not working through something. One conversation does not undo decades worth of torture. That would be like if I was with an abusive guy and then he punches me in the face every day for 10 years and then he says, oh, sorry, my bad. That's not going to undo the past hurt that that man has caused. So oftentimes when women say things like, oh, we worked through our issues, They never tell you. Notice how they never tell you exactly what they did to work through it, and they never tell you what the actual solution was. All they will say is, he doesn't behave like that anymore. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, you're letting me know that the barrier to entry for being in this long-term relationship is that I have to suffer for a good 5 to 10 years. And then, as he grows and matures, then he'll stop behaving like that. I've literally heard some women say, oh, well, my man, he doesn't cheat because he's too old to cheat. Okay, so now you're implying that he did cheat when he was younger. So you're telling me you had to deal with a serial cheater for 40 to 50 years, and now you're finally happy because he's too old to go out and cheat. He doesn't have the energy to go cheat. And when it comes to the type of women that abandon their friends because they have a new man, I always find that interesting because your standards are so much higher when it comes to your friends and family members. Like, my family members love me. My family members love me. They support me. They don't talk down on me. My friends love and support me. They're not over here talking down on me and like gossiping behind my back. So if I'm surrounded by a family that loves me and friends that love me, why would I suddenly allow this one man into my life who does not love me? Do you see the hypocrisy there? Do you see the hypocrisy in our society where we are expected to accept nothing but the best from friendships and family members? We are expected to actually hold those people accountable and even go no contact if possible. But suddenly when it comes to a man, it's so difficult to go no contact. Not to mention the fact that a lot of men that you're going to come across, not only do they not love you, but even some of the men in relationships, they don't even love that woman. They love the idea of that woman. They love the idea of a woman cooking and cleaning for them and being willing to bend it over and bust it wide open on command. They love the idea of a woman following behind him and fawning over him. So it's not about him genuinely loving her as a human being and viewing her as special. Because if he truly viewed her as special, he would treat her as if she was special. He wouldn't be following OnlyFans girls. He wouldn't be jacking off to Korn every single day. He wouldn't be DMing his exes or secretly creating fake accounts on social media so he can stalk other women. He wouldn't be doing stuff like that because the woman with him would be so special to the point where she would drown out all of these other distractions. And have you ever noticed that people tend to shame the women? So they will shame the OnlyFans workers, they'll shame the porn stars, but they don't shame the men who are funding them. And they'll be like, oh, well, he has a problem. He just struggles with corn and we just had to work through it. I just had to practice forgiveness. Don't even get me started on the church rhetoric around forgiveness because there's always more pressure for the woman to forgive the man versus the other way around. Whenever a man is a corn addict, they just view it as, oh, well, the devil is just attacking him. That's just a demon of lust. No, he is the demon. He is the one acting like a demon. He is the one that has no self-discipline or self-control. So you're expecting me to give my time, my energy, my intellect, and my loyalty to a man who does not even know how to control his thoughts, a man that doesn't know how to control his finances. Because remember, the majority of men are poor. So the majority of relationship problems, not only are you having relationship problems, but you're also having problems with a man who is poor. So we did a lookup on ChatGPT not long ago, and I think it said that like 87% of men in the US make less than 100K. And by the way, 100K is not that much. 100K is what? $8,000 a month, $9,000 a month, somewhere around there. But once you take out taxes, once you take out his health insurance costs, once you take out like him paying the mortgage and all that, that's only a couple $1,000s left per month of extra money. So you're literally going through a tolerable level of permanent unhappiness, all for a man who has an extra $500 a week. And you expect me to put that man on a pedestal because he has an extra $500 per week when there are literally women showing their behinds on OnlyFans that make more than $500 a week just for posting one photo. But a lot of us give men so much power, and it just comes from brainwashing. It comes from brainwashing. A lot of the power that men have, like a lot of their social power, just comes from conditioning. When you start to really think about that man's value in your life, Not just based on money, but also think about his physical appearance. I hear some women saying that they are willing to date an ugly man. It's like, wait a minute. So not only do I have to deal with the typical problems that come with dealing with the male gender, now I also have to deal with him having a messed up jawline, yellow teeth, he's got gingivitis, halitosis. So I have to deal with his physical appearance problems and his hygiene problems because a lot of men, a lot of young boys are not being parented properly. So a lot of mothers don't even teach their sons how to properly wash their behinds. So most men will literally grow up having not gone to the dentist in 15 years, having never learned how to make sure they clean all the bacteria off of their bodies. A lot of men don't even wash their hands before they eat. So those hands that are touching you, and don't even get me started on men with long nails. So it's like those hands that are touching you with those long talons, they're filled with dirt underneath. He's literally getting bacteria all over your skin. So you're over here putting on body lotions and body oils. You're putting on body glaze. Also, he can put his grimy hands filled with bacteria all over your skin. And a lot of women don't think about the micro problems that come with being in these super long marriages, especially, don't even get me started if it is a 50-50 marriage or a hypogamous marriage. So it's like, okay, not only is she paying half the bills, not only is this man fugly, not only are her children going to be 50% fugly, but now she also has to deal with his hygiene issues. She has to wipe up his skid marks off the toilet. And don't even get me started on men's lack of parenting skills. Because I see a lot of women who they say that they want a baby. So like they will get with a man. They'll marry a man just because they want a baby. And it's like, are you an idiot? Why would I destroy my own life just so I can have a baby? Women who are like that, what they're looking for is emotional fulfillment. Those are emotionally codependent women who have children because they think that having a child will make them feel complete. So she's a woman with an external locus of control. So she's hoping that by birthing this child, that she will raise her social status by being a mother. She's hoping that she can redeem herself because I see a lot of women who maybe they had a reputation as a whore or they had a reputation of, just being a nobody. And so she feels like by having a child and having the title of wife and mother, that somehow that's going to redeem her from her past or that somehow that's going to get her more respect in society. No, mothers are some of the most disrespected and overlooked women in society. Not only do they not give mothers maternity leave, they will still make pregnant women work or they will make you work right after you had the baby. Not to mention the fact that from a statistic standpoint, that is one of the highest cheating windows. It's when the woman is pregnant and then I think it's within like the first year or two of having the babies. So these women are out here having babies. They're getting into these marriages, not to mention the fact that when you have a newborn, you are going to age quicker than normal. You're going to age more than child-free women because you're losing sleep. Because newborn babies, they don't have like a sleep schedule. They don't go based on a time clock like how we do. So you're losing an average of, I don't know how much sleep per night. I think that we did an episode on that, about how many thousands of hours the average woman will lose by having a man's baby. So let's say she's married to a man that makes six figures. She's doing all that so that she can have access to an extra couple $100 per week. Oh, and did I mention the fact that a lot of men actually hide money from their wives? There are men out here that are literally, they'll be opening up a secret credit card that you know nothing about. They'll have a whole other bank account that they use to subscribe to OnlyFans. Girls, most men are not dumb enough to use the joint checking account to do their bullshit. No, they're going to go open a secret credit card. They're going to go buy one of those Visa gift cards. You know the cheap Visa gift cards that you get from like Walmart and stuff? They're going to do that. They're going to go to an ATM and take out cash so they can spend it at the strip club or something. So sometimes women will be with these men who are lying about their income, or they lie and say that they make less than what they really do because, they want to be able to save more money so they can level up and leave you one day. And I find it interesting that men, they talk so much about women hitting the wall. No, they're projecting because men hit the wall. And I told you guys, one of the main ways that men hit the wall is via their wallet. So if that man knows that the highest career he'll ever have is being a doctor, or, maybe he's already a doctor, maybe he's already a lawyer, maybe he's already like a scientist or an engineer. Okay, for a lot of men, that's going to be their ceiling. That's going to be their ceiling. Let's be honest. Remember, 80%, 87% of men make less than 100K. The majority of men are not rich. Okay, so about 90 something percent of men are not rich and never will be. So whatever position he's in today, he's most likely going to be in that same position 5 years from now. I mean, why would he change? He already got you. He already got you to marry him. He already got you to move in. Now he's getting a 50% discount on his bills. So now he's got some extra disposable income. And for the women who try to flex and say, oh, but I'm a stay-at-home wife, I'm a stay-at-home mother, and that's how I contribute. Oh, okay, so you're working for room and board. So you're a house slave in a way, or like what's going on with that? So if you were to stop doing dishes and all that, you're telling me that he'd get pissed off and you guys would essentially get a divorce? Because if that's the case, then you are working for room and board. That's no different than people who live in those boarding houses and they have a list of chores. So you are an employee. You're an employee. And the way you get paid is by having a roof over your head. Society will glamorize romantic relationships. And they don't glamorize friendships. They don't glamorize healthy family relationships, like, having a healthy sibling relationship or healthy relationships with your cousins. They don't glamorize that type of stuff. Because society will glorify romantic love as the highest form of connection, even if it's dysfunctional. So we talked about how in the Black community, one of the most common romantic tropes is this enemies to lovers relationship dynamic. That's very common in the Black community. A lot of it comes from the love movies that are shown in the Black community. So for example, Love and Basketball, that movie, that's an enemies to lovers romantic story, because you started off the movie with him pushing her down. He was bullying her, basically. He was essentially being a misogynist, implying that she couldn't be good at basketball because she was a girl. And he pushes her down and her face literally gets scraped to the point of scarring. So a piece of her beauty is now gone. A piece of her beauty is gone because he scraped her face up. And then you got them getting older throughout the movie in Love and Basketball. It shows him like talking to all these other women, giving these other women attention, essentially ignoring her and not noticing her because she's too much of a tomboy. So even her achievement and her athletic skill, that's still not enough to impress him. So it's like this trope of you're never good enough for this man. Your beauty's not enough. He doesn't care about your beauty. He's a misogynist. He will push you down and cause you to have scars that fade your beauty. And then if you're one of those women who doesn't rely on beauty and you have athletic talent or something, that still doesn't matter. And then this guy will be over here entertaining all these other women. He's entertaining every other woman. And then once he's finally done running through all these other women, then he wants to come back to you because you were the good girl all along. But do you think that if the roles were reversed, if she was the one bullying him, if she was the one pushing him down, if she was the one giving all these other men attention, and then she comes back to him after she's ran through all these other guys, do you think that he would accept that? So in a lot of cases, men will actually have boundaries and then they get mad at women for having the exact same boundary. But I think that a part of this enemies to lovers, toxic relationship dynamic, it comes from the media. Because some of the most iconic love movies are enemies to lovers stories. So it's normalizing dysfunction. Society normalizes dysfunctional relationships. Look at Scandal, that TV show. I mean, I really could do an entire series just completely analyzing how a lot of these romantic shows and stuff, how they just rot your brain. Even the Titanic, that movie pissed me off so much. How do you fall in love with someone within one day? That has got to be one of the most idiotic, codependent talking points I've ever heard in my life. So you fall in love with this guy within one day. You let this guy see you naked within hours of meeting him, and then you're saying in the movie, oh, that was the most sensual moment of my life. Okay, so you're glorifying being objectified by a man for your sexual body parts, but I thought that that's bad. I thought that you don't want to be objectified. So a lot of romance movies socialize women to think that a man's validation is the prize. It socializes women to feel like they're incomplete without a family or without a husband. And those movies will normalize dysfunction. Have you ever stayed friends with somebody that started off as your enemy? Has anyone ever been your bully for years and they were sabotaging you, they were putting you down, they were basically abusing you psychologically, and then they became your BFF and you guys just lived happily ever after as friends? No, you would call that abuse. You would say that that's not your friend. You would say that that person is fake. Okay, well, a lot of men can be extremely fake towards women. They act like they're your lover, but in reality, they're your enemy because some of them will do little things to sabotage you, or they will talk down on your dreams. They will make you feel like, oh, you wanting to be a makeup artist, that's stupid. Or you wanting to go back to school, you can't do that. You can't afford that. Nobody's going to support your business. Another hypocrisy with friendships versus romantic relationships, a lot of women, when we are making friends, we will kind of vet our friendships a little bit more. Like, we will be very attentive, like, okay, is she giving off any red flags? Does she come off as fake? Oftentimes, it'll take a woman months to become friends with a new person. Like, you have to have certain things in common. You guys have to have the same hobbies. You guys have to kind of be going down the same path in life. But when it comes to a man, all he has to do is take you on one good date and smile and call you beautiful. And suddenly, oh my God, I think he might be the one. So do you see how there's this internalized bias where you've got women putting men on an emotional pedestal when a lot of men are not even emotionally intelligent? If you ask the average man, what does love mean? What does loyalty mean? And define cheating. If you ask the average man those three questions, he will not be able to answer all three of those questions, especially the cheating one. Before you start dating a guy, if you're taking a break right now and you end up dating a guy later on, ask him, what do you consider cheating? Because I guarantee he's going to say something different than whatever you're thinking is cheating. I 100% guarantee he'll probably say things like, oh, well, porn isn't cheating. OnlyFans is not cheating. Going to the strip club isn't cheating. Flirting with someone at work isn't cheating. So a lot of men, they will go out of their way to find loopholes to where they can have their cake and eat it too. He knows damn well that he's being disloyal to you by flirting with a woman at work, but he will try to use semantics like, oh, well, it's not like I was kissing her. It's not like I was physically cheating. So a lot of men, they don't even believe in emotional cheating. They don't even believe that's a thing. So they could have a whole work wife. They could be flirting with her all day long, texting her all day long. Have you ever been around a guy where maybe he has a female friend? He'll be texting his female friend more than his wife. He will tell his work wife more than his actual wife. So a lot of men, they don't even believe in emotional cheating. They don't have the same moral code as women, generally speaking. They don't have the same moral code because when it comes to parenting styles, a lot of parents have been socialized to essentially not raise their sons. And so that's why a lot of women will say it's easier to have a son. Why? It's because society doesn't hold you accountable for raising a good, upstanding man with morals. That's why. And that's also why they have sayings like boys will be boys. Okay, what does that mean? They're basically normalizing demonic behavior. They're normalizing this degenerate behavior like, oh, well, boys will be boys. And then if you think about how young boys are socialized, a lot of them grow up on like violent video games, or they grow up on video games that are objectifying women and stuff. Think of like Grand Theft Auto and some of the TV shows that young boys are watching. Some of the anime shows objectify women, or they show the female cartoon characters with these gigantic boobs and stuff. By the way, I've never heard of a video game addict who is also not a porn addict. I've never heard of it. Anytime you come across a video game addict, he's probably going to be a porn addict as well, because those two things go hand in hand. He's addicted to screens. He's addicted to virtual reality. So he is more likely to get sucked into watching a lot of porn. Even if you think about some of the websites that men go on to download these video games and stuff, you know how they try to pirate them and you can get them for free? A lot of those websites will have porn on the side or next to it, or it'll just pop up on the computer randomly. So most men have not even been taught to have emotional boundaries. In fact, I dare you to ask the closest man to you. Ask your brother, ask your father, ask any man that you know. Hey, what are some examples of emotional boundaries within a relationship? Give 5 examples. Ready, set, go. Ask him. I guarantee he won't be able to answer. He can't give you 5 examples of healthy boundaries to have in a relationship. Healthy emotional boundaries. No, he won't be able to answer. There are so many questions that men can't even answer, so many basic relationship questions that they can't answer. So I find it hilarious that people expect me to put men on a pedestal and to put relationships, romantic relationships, on a pedestal when most men are not romantic, not emotionally intelligent, and they can't even answer basic questions such as, what is love? Give me examples of love. What is cheating? And that leads me to my next point. A lot of men do not have positive male role models. So if the divorce rate on average is 50%, that means that the average little boy growing up right now, there's a 50% chance that he won't even have a father in his life, let alone a good role model. There's a 50% chance he won't have a father in his life at all, or he will have one of those part-time dads that he sees every other weekend. So the father is not going to have as much influence over his life as the mother. So that creates a generation of mama's boys. It creates a generation of what I would call more feminine men. It creates a generation of men who have not had enough positive masculine influence in their life. So you expect me to believe that men as a gender make great leaders when the divorce rates are 50%. So the quote unquote man is the head of the household. Okay, well, 50% of these heads of households are getting divorced. And for those of you who say, oh, well, it's the women who are filing the divorce. Well, yes, this is because on average, a lot of men lack administrative skills. So that's number one. Most men are horrible at administrative skills. I'm talking about it from a statistical standpoint. If you look at the administration industry as a whole, most of those jobs are taken up by women. So a lot of men, it's not that they don't want divorces. Well, I mean, a lot of them are more codependent. So I actually do believe most of them don't want divorces because most of them won't leave. They'll just cheat because it benefits a man more to just stay in his marriage and cheat versus to leave that marriage because obviously his 50% discount on bills is going to go away. Not to mention the fact that the majority of homeless men are homeless because some woman kicked him out of her home. But back to what I was saying. A lot of men don't even have administrative skills. So no, they're not going to be good at filing all this paperwork, going through a divorce court, making phone calls, keeping a schedule, memorizing when the court date is, hiring a lawyer to divide up assets. He doesn't even have money for a lawyer. The majority of men are poor. They can't afford a lawyer. Lawyers cost thousands of dollars. So he can't afford a lawyer because he's already spent his money on Axe body spray and video games and OnlyFans and Red Pill Patreons. So his money is being eaten up on average. Oh, and by the way, there's another stat that talks about how a lot of men are also bad at investing. Like on average, they're worse than women because a lot of men will go into the market overconfident, thinking that he's going to strike the next big deal on Bitcoin or something. So then he'll lose all of his life savings. A lot of men go to Vegas, they gamble away their life savings. Who is the majority? What gender most commonly gambles away their entire savings in Vegas? Is it women? Are women the main ones betting at the poker table millions of dollars? No. Men are the main ones doing the gambling. Men are the main ones kind of engaging in this high-risk behavior. So I find it interesting that you expect me to believe that men as a whole are healthy, emotionally stable human beings when statistically men are what? I think it was it 15 or 16 times more likely to go to prison for a violent crime? A lot of high crime areas, most of the criminals tend to be men. Wars, all of the isms, racism, colorism, texturism, featureism, slavery, all of that stuff has been started by men. Most of the religions that have been known to oppress large groups of people, guess what gender it was started by? It was started by men. So if there is an overarching sociological pattern where men are coming in and destroying things and literally causing chaos and harm and death wherever they turn, why would I suddenly believe that somehow getting into a romantic relationship is going to do the opposite? And I see a lot of women saying things like, oh, well, I'm just going to love him back to life. Okay, that's a problem. That's codependency, because why do I have to have the responsibility of fixing this man? Why do I have to sacrifice my emotional well-being and basically just give all this emotional energy to him in hopes that he will know how to use it? We all know that historically a lot of men will just take advantage of that. because they will feel like you're just a doormat. Like, oh, she's not leaving no matter what I do. So now I can go out and act even more crazy. So a lot of men will mistake your kindness for weakness, and they'll take it as a way that they can just act even more crazy. Another reason why women will stay with a man, but they won't stay friends with someone who has the same behavior, is because women will attach their self-worth to their relationship status. So this is why you have people who shame like baby mamas or hoes or whatever. Like they will create this hierarchy in their mind with being married at the top, or maybe they put being in a hypergamous marriage at the top, or maybe they put like being in a homemaker position. That's at the top of the hierarchy. So any woman who has hierarchy thinking in relation to men, not only is that male-centered, but it's a form of attaching your self-worth to a relationship. So that's why those are some of the most common women that you see in these long-standing marriages where they've been suffering the entire time, but they want to try to lie to single women and be like, oh, well, I've been happy this entire time, or it's really bad being out here on these streets. Have you ever noticed that? They'll use this phrase, the streets. So if you're single, like you're on the streets. So they make it like you don't have a home, like you're just homeless. You're emotionally homeless. You're an emotional vagabond because you don't have a man that you're coming home to. And it's like, sis, everybody that's single is not out here just desperate for a relationship. Like there's a such thing as being single and just enjoying your life, or focusing on your friends, focusing on your career, your family. But no, they use this phrase, you're on the streets, because people associate the streets with being dangerous and scary. So that phrase, even that language, it's very male-centered because they're implying that you don't have a protector and provider. So again, that's a codependent talking point because it implies that you're only protected and provided for if you have a man. And obviously we know that's false. Women can protect and provide for themselves. My theory on this is that women are actually better at protecting and providing. A lot of men, historically, have been very bad at protecting and providing. A lot of men protect and provide by harming other men, starting wars with other countries, or going in and dominating and subjugating and enslaving other people. So that is men's main way of protecting and providing. But if you look at a lot of matriarchal societies, a lot of women just mind our business. We know how to nurture ourselves, and we don't feel the need to go and dominate or subjugate random innocent people in order to protect and provide. But another reason that some women will try to flex their relationship status on you is because they view their boyfriend as a way of proving that they are worthy. Like a lot of women, they don't actually want a marriage. They don't actually want to be in love. They don't actually want to live with the man. What they want is to be chosen. They just want to feel chosen. They want to feel special. They want to feel like they've been picked. And the only way they can attain that feeling is if a man picks them. This is why you see a lot of women who get mad at the pretty girl. Because in their mind, you are more worthy of love than they are because of your beauty. So it's a very male-centered type of talking point. So they're wanting to get picked by these men because it proves their desirability. But if you truly already have some form of pretty privilege or something, you don't have to have a relationship in order to prove your desirability. There are a lot of women out there who literally feel invisible if they don't have a boyfriend. They feel invisible if they don't get hit on at the bar. So this is why some women, they will try to cock block you, or they get mad like if you get a free drink or something, because it's not just about her wanting a free drink. It's about her wanting to feel special. And I want to talk about the psychology of women who have all male friends and no female friends. So you're telling me that out of the billions of people in this world, you couldn't find not one woman that wanted to be friends with you. That is a damn lie. You are an internalized misogynist. I've never heard a woman with all male friends not make a misogynist comment. Because every time you ask a woman who has all male friends, every time you ask her, hey, why do you have all male friends? She always responds with a misogynistic talking point. She'll be like, oh, women are too much drama. Women are jealous and competitive. Women are all bitches. Okay, that literally sounds like a misogynist talking point. Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. You're basically saying that same thing. So that's internalized misogyny. And it's also this mindset of, I'm not like other girls. So sometimes women, they will try to say like, oh, all my friends are guys, because they feel like proximity to men makes them superior. So again, they have a male-centered identity. Their self-worth revolves around how many men want to be their friend, how many men are texting her phone, how many men are saying hi to her. So it's a male-centered version of self-esteem. Number 3 is she has the desire to stand out or feel special. So a lot of women who they only hang out with men, she wants to be around only men because she feels like that's the only way she can get more attention and validation. So she's validation starved. So being the only girl in a group of men, that creates a sense of uniqueness. She knows that if she were in a room full of women, she wouldn't stand out. So that's why she can't be friends with any women, because she knows that she has nothing about her that makes her unique. There's nothing about her that makes her stand out. So that's why she can't even stand to be in the presence of another woman at all. And I've heard some women say that like they have trauma from women, and so they don't hang out with as many women because it's a protection mechanism. Okay, well, us over here in the Pretty Girl Club, we understand that more than anyone. If there is anybody that has a lot of trauma from other women, it's gonna be a woman who has pretty privilege. So why is it that there are plenty of women who have pretty privilege, they've experienced tons of trauma from women, yet they're still able to be friends with women? They still have not generalized all women to the point where they think all women are bitches. But you're telling me that you're such a special snowflake that none of the billions of women in this world were able to get along with you, so you had to hang out with all these random dusty men. Because men make such good friends, which we know is false. Like, that is statistically false. A lot of men, they don't even know their friends' children's names. A lot of men don't even know the name of the elementary school that their own children go to, let alone any information about their male friends. So you can't convince me that men are somehow better at friendship than women, because they're not. Friendship requires emotional stability. It requires communication. Friendship requires emotional intimacy. This is also why I say that men and women cannot be friends, because men do not give out any form of emotional intimacy or vulnerability unless he wants to have sex or he feels like there's a chance of him having sex. I don't see men just going around expressing their emotions and being emotionally intimate. No, they don't even do that with their own friends. By the way, that is the dictionary definition of the word friendship. Go look up the word friendship in the dictionary. Go look up that word and you will see that friendships are based on emotional intimacy. How many men do you know that are emotionally intimate with other men? Okay, so they don't even have male friends. These are really just men who are existing in the same room as them. These are really just men who are existing alongside them. So women who are only friends with guys, you can't convince me that it's because men are just better friends and they're less drama. No, they're less emotionally available. They're less emotionally available. So if you go through something, a man, he's not going to call you and talk to you for 2 hours about that and work through it with you. Most men are not going to call and check up on you like how female friends would do. A lot of men save that for their girlfriend. In fact, that's what the phrase comes from, girlfriend, boyfriend. Whoever created those words was smart enough to know that girls and boys can't just be platonic friends without somebody having had a hidden agenda at some point. So that's why they created these phrases, boyfriend, girlfriend. Because if you're a girl and you're friends with a guy to the point of emotional intimacy, and you're hanging out one-on-one, in order to build a friendship, you have to be hanging out one-on-one with that person. And you have to be consistently hanging out with them and following up with them. A lot of men don't even consistently follow up with their guy friends. So any woman who tells me that like she's only friends with men, that's a woman that struggles with emotional intimacy. She struggles with vulnerability. Because female friendships require a lot more emotional depth and open communication. So if that woman is uncomfortable being vulnerable, she might find it easier to hang out with men or bond with men, because men have extremely low expectations. There's a very low barrier to entry when it comes to men. So a lot of women who have no female friends whatsoever, and they don't ever want to have female friends, no, those are women who have emotional issues. So they also have like this mindset of they're playing a role. It's like they're playing this role because they want to be liked by men. So they're trying to come off as being funny, being low maintenance, being agreeable. Or they view other women as competition, or they've never had a real sisterhood, or they have mommy issues. Their mother was a toxic mother. They've got toxic sisters. So they come from a long line of toxic women. So if you come from a long line of toxic women and you tell me that you don't want to be friends with any woman ever, You expect me to believe that you're somehow emotionally healthy? Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.